The first episode was in the toilet. As a matter of fact, let's go in the toilet. Nobody knows the trouble I've had. Nobody knows my sorrow. Nobody knows. You don't know how appropriate it really is that we should be doing my autobiography. The man who started when he was 2 years old, who was a movie star by the time he was 8, and has worked all of his life, and is now telling his story 5 feet away from the commode. And I think that's terrific. And we could even take a shower. Nobody knows but Jesus. Sometimes I'm up and sometimes I'm down. Sometimes I'm almost to the ground, but nobody knows the trouble I've had. It's very interesting. I looked almost the very same way when I was 5 years old as I look in this picture. And that's because I probably haven't changed that much. You know? I should have been dead, and I would have been dead, and I could have been dead 1,000 times over. I've already told you that my mother didn't want to have me, and the coat hanger didn't work. And I don't think I wanted to be around either until I got in front of people. And then there I was on the sidewalk, singing and dancing. And I said, this is it. And I kind of stayed there all my life. And now I'm 86 and I'm getting ready to croak. And what am I doing? The same thing. I'm in front of you, and this may not be very entertaining, but the good news is it's free. And if I was to do a autobiographical something or other, then you'd probably have to pay for it somewhere, and somebody else would be making a lot of money, and it would probably be worse than this. So we're going to get a box, and we're going to go in the front room and see what comes of that. Now let me see here. See what I can find. Sometimes I'm up and sometimes I'm down. Sometimes I'm almost to the ground, but nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Glory, hallelujah. So in this box, we will find, who the hell knows, the story of my life. What's interesting in here? You know, some of this stuff is very dull to me. It probably isn't to you. At least you'll see it once. It's free. I think I told you about Sonny Johnson. Sonny Johnson was 27, 28 years old, and we were engaged, and I got a phone call. I went to UCLA, and I held her hand, and she died from an aneurysm. I think irony would be the one word to describe my life, because things like Sonny are not unusual. I thought Sonny was going to be a great wife and we'd have a great life. And God said, no, I got another notion for you. Guess what? She's dead. Let me see what I can find here. I'll get around to you in a minute. Oh, I think I told you about this. This was supposed to be Jack Benny's worst movie, called When the Horn Blows at Midnight. And that's me with his trumpet in my hand. And the reason he came down from heaven to end the world because we were a bunch of schmucks screwing up. And I stole his horn, so when midnight came, he couldn't end the world. But the movie was so bad that Jack Benny was too embarrassed to even talk about it. And if you don't know who Jack Benny is, well, that's tough shit. Then go tune into another channel. Oh, this is interesting. This is, I wouldn't stand on that chair if I was you. That chair is older than me. It came out here in 1938 when we came from New Jersey. This is Moki, and this is the first movie I starred in. And there's Buckwheat from The Little Rascals, and he got a job in the movie on Moki with me. And he and I worked together several times. As a matter of fact, when I went over and did the Red Rider World, but that's another story. Let's hang around with this for just another minute or two. Anyway, so I left MGM and I went to a place called Republic Studios, where there was Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and Whip Wilson and Lash LaRue and all those people. And I was in a series called Red Rider, and I played Little Beaver. And this is the first photograph that they took when I was Little Beaver. I really didn't like being out there. It would have been fine for some other kid, but I had been at MGM. I had been where Clark Gable and Charles Lawton, all the giants were, and now I was out there with horse manure. And I spent 5 years there working with all of them. And none of it meant anything to me. Now that's a fellow there called Alan Rocky Lane. And he was not the thrill of my life. Bill Elliott was a good guy, and he was the first Red Rider. But he didn't want to be there anymore. He just wanted to go someplace else. So they hired Rocky Lane, and I wanted to go someplace else too. But I was stuck. Many times in my life have I been stuck. Somehow or other, I've had the best of it, and I've had the worst of it. And ironically, here it is. There's the best and the worst. Here I am with Donna Reed and Dan Daly playing my mother and father, and I'm starring in Moki. And they changed my name to Bobby Blake because I couldn't be Michael James Gubitosi and be a movie star. Not in those days. You had to be white and right. And I don't know what it's like to be black, but I damn sure know what it's like not to be white. And anyway, and then there I am playing a little Arab kid at 20th Century because MGM dumped me. And so I was in a picture called China Girl. And I played, anyway. That is what it is. And here's old Beretta. You better do what I tell you or I'll splash your brains against that window. Crazy Beretta. And here's the very early Little Rascals before I got in there. And you can see Spank and Darla and practically everybody, but I wasn't there yet. I wasn't there yet. I got there later. You can tell how miserable I was doing Little Beaver. I was miserable. But I was a country western star. And here I am on the road. That's the big crowd. And if you look real careful, you'll see a cop holding me up away from the crowd. He's in there someplace. Difficult picture. Difficult picture. It's been a difficult picture and it's been a difficult life. That's the good times at MGM. And here's the lousy times when I first came out of the Army and I was in a terrible movie called Three Violent People. And there I am playing Gilbert Rowland's son. I wound up playing Gilbert Rowland's son a lot of times. Sad, 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 sad stuff. These are just all headshots. That's when I played that crazy guy that killed his whole family. What the hell was the name of that? I don't even remember the name of it. I hated that job. Just pictures. Pictures. Here I was playing a bad kid with a knife. I was a pachuco in that movie. Let's see what else we got here. And that's during Beretta on a motorcycle. And here's the movie I was in at MGM, and that's Buckwheat and the Gang, and I'm performing with my accordion and all my junk. Those were all my happy days, my happy Mickey Rooney days, and my plan. But then there's always God's plan. Wait a minute. Oh God, that was a terrible movie. What was the name of it? Coast to Coast. I played a truck driver or something in it with, what was her name? She married Cary Grant. I can't remember her name. Maybe I'm not supposed to. And here's me with Roy and Dale. That was just before Roy died. I love Dale Evans. I really loved her. She was a nightclub singer before she went into the cowboy movies. And that's the three of us just before he checked out. And this is Robert Mitchum, who grew the best marijuana in the world. And he and I would take a toke now and then and tell a lot of funny stories. He was a very intelligent, colorful, interesting man. Nobody really knew him. You know, they tell the stories about he was a railroad bum who became a movie star, but he was actually extraordinarily intellectual. He read a great deal, and he knew a great deal, and he was a good friend. I used to go up to Santa Barbara and visit him when he was on his deathbed, and he went out smiling. He went out smiling. Nah, that's just nonsense. Oh, there's Gene. That's Gene Autry and me and whoever she is. And I was in a Gene Autry movie, which don't mean nothing. But it is what it is. This is a movie. This was the return of Rin Tin Tin. Yeah, every kid gets stuck making a boy and a dog movie. Anyway, it is what it is. There's Beretta. I like that picture. That's me in the Army when I was directing plays in Alaska and stuff like that. Oh, this is when I played Jimmy Hoffa. There's me as Hoffa, and that's my assistant, and they just handed us some new pages, and I'm reading the pages, and that was a good job. That was a very good job. I should have stayed there instead of going and do that dumb series about the priest. This was the first film that I was in. That's when I got my Social Security card. And that's the lady who played the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. I think her name is Billy Burke. Yeah. And I was a little scamp. And here I am as a little scamp on a motorcycle. That's another story for another time and another day. Here I am in another cheap allied artist street hoodlum movie where the cop says he's going to cut my throat out if I don't tell him the truth. Anyway, so let's just see what we got here. A little bit more, and then we'll take a break. Here I am. This is called the First Holy Communion, because I don't know why we were raised Catholics. My father was not religious and my mother wasn't religious, but we had to go get our First Holy Communion. And that's my brother and my sister and me going and doing that weird stuff. And here I am as little Beaver signing autographs and stuff like that.